Bags got murdered. And I was just with him the day before. We were supposed to do something that day. I got up early in the morning, called him, and the police picked up the phone.
Late August 2001, federal agents raid a stash location in Baltimore, Maryland. Inside, they find about $30,000 in cash.
$1 million homes, platinum filled with a lot of stones.
None of that surprises anybody. What surprises them is sitting with the money and the drugs like it belongs there. A home video. The recording dates on the tape run July 13th through the 16th. It shows a man driving a Lincoln Navigator, parking it, coming and going on a quiet street in southeast Queens. 3 days of a man's ordinary life, filmed by someone he never saw. The man on that tape is a rapper named Eric Smith, E-Money Bags. And the last date on the tape, July 16th, 2001, is the day he died. Somebody filmed this man for 3 days. On the third day, he was shot 11 times in that same truck. And 6 weeks later, the tape made to end his life turned up in a drug raid 200 miles away and became the beginning of the end for one of the most feared names in the history of New York, Kenneth McGriff. The man Queens called Supreme. This is the story of the tape, what it was, what it wasn't, and how 3 days of silent footage reached into hip-hop and shook it to the frame. The biggest label in rap, a federal courtroom in Brooklyn, and a thread that runs straight through the most famous shooting in rap history, the 9 bullets that hit 50 Cent.
Yo, Queens got shit on lock.
Wipe your feet when you step in my house.
You heard about E? You heard about E?
Better have money bags, firm, baby. Queens in the house, representing the firm.
Where you from? I'm from Jamaica, Queens, where they beat you up and take your jeans. Most of them kids will put a toast in your ribs if you make one love.
By the end of this video, you'll know what the internet always gets wrong about this tape, and you're going to hear the people who claim to actually be there, because the record on this one is deeper than the rumors. Let's start with the man in the truck, because before he was a name in a federal case, he was somebody's favorite rapper. He was somebody's father, 8 times over, and, according to the people who knew them both, he was 50 Cent's friend. Hold that thought. It matters more than you think.
Got a quote and line on right there for hip-hop to see. Right, this E-Money Bags talking, y'all. All right. I'm me. This name comes from the grip before we even got the rap. Right. God bless the dead, the stretch, rest in peace. Live Squad. Bring it back to the Tupac era, you know what I mean? You go back through the history, the shout-outs of my name from there. Then bring it up to the Foxy and Nas, to the P, to the Nori. Shout out to Nori, to the real rappers from Queens, you know what I'm saying? P, we holding this down. This Queens right here.
Eric Smith, born November 19th, 1969, in Brooklyn, came up in the same circles as a young Tupac. By 1999, he had released one album, featuring collaborations with Queens legends, who would later become worldwide names. He wasn't a superstar, but something rarer, a man the streets of Queens truly respected, and no one stood behind him more than Prodigy.
So I'm chilling with my man E-Money Bags, rest in peace. Right? I know Bags from my man Shamik from Left Rack. Me and Shamik grew up together since we was like this. We went to elementary school together. And Hempstead, Long Island. Me and Shamik moved to Left Rack around the same time. You know what I'm saying? And so what, Chappelle? Huh? Chappelle, what that? Oh, I thought those other dudes I know. Nah, Shamik. You know what I'm saying? Me and Shamik moved Left Rack at the same time. And, you know, Shamik doing his thing, doing my thing. And we bumped into each other. We didn't even know we was both moving Left Rack. I bumped into him walking down the block. I'm like, what the fuck you doing out here? He's like, I just moved out here. So I just moved out here. He's like, oh, shit. What up, son? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, son. We both moved to Left Rack. Like, oh, shit. So that's my nigga. So, down the line, Shamik started bringing E-Money Bags to Queensbridge. So that's how I met Bags. You know what I'm saying? The Bags, they started hanging out with Nas and all that. So that's how I met Bags. Bags like, yo, what up? P, you the God, P. P, you the God, P. Niggas can't fuck with you, P. He used to be, you know, that was my nigga, son. He loved Mobb Deep. That nigga loved me, son. That was my nigga. He really was feeling my music, you know what I'm saying? And me as a person, like, he used to always tell me, like, yo, son, you that nigga, son. You know what I'm saying? For real, son. Niggas gotta give it up to you, son. Niggas don't give it up to niggas is bullshitting, son. They lying. So, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That was my nigga. I was real close with that. You know, me and him got real close.
If you know one E-Money Bag story, it's probably the Jay-Z story. Someone affiliated with The Rock showed up on the radio using the name H Money Bags, and Eric took that personally. What happened next took place in real time on Hot 97, and Prodigy was there. Listen to how he tells it, because this is the temperature Eric Smith lived at.
Me and Bags in the studio one day in Long Island, this place called the Music Palace. It was a Friday night, and I went to the store. I just came back, and on the radio it was Home Master Flex, and it was Jay-Z, Freeway, Beanie Siegel, and the Young Gunners. It was all up there freestyling on Flex Show. And I was listening to it, because they was going in. I was like, okay, they going in. Let me, before I get out the car, let me finish listening to the radio. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm listening and shit. All of a sudden I hear Beanie say, I creep on like a quiet storm. I'm like, hold up. You know what I'm saying? Like, this nigga trying to go at us just now. So I'm listening closer now. So now then he had some nigga named H Money Bags up there rapping. All right, H Money Bags. So now I go in the studio. I said, yo, E, come outside real quick. So E come outside. I'm like, let's do this shit. So E like, what he just said? H Money Bags? Man, who the fuck is that? Mm-hmm. I'm like, yo, son, I think it's biting your name, son. He's like, oh, I told you I knew that nigga from high school, son. That nigga know me. He know E Money Bags. My name was E Money Bags back then, son. The niggas biting my name. Son. I was like, son, you know what? The niggas just tried to diss my pieces now. He's like, what? I said, come on, let's go inside and call out 97. So we went inside the studio. We called out 97. Somebody picked up. I said, yo, it's Prodigy. I'll speak to Jay-Z. Yo, P, he just left, man. They just left. They just got in the elevator and just, I said, yo, go get him. He said, all right. They went outside to go get him. Jay-Z came back upstairs. Got on the phone. Yo, what's up, yo? I said, yo, man, somebody want to talk to you. Gave the phone to E. He like, yo, what up, nigga? Like, yo, who this? He said, E Money Bags, man. What up, nigga? Yeah, oh, what up, yo, what up? Yeah, yo, what up with this? Who the fuck is H Money Bags, son? Who this nigga you down there? Come on, nigga, you don't try to play me, son. You know niggas think that's my name, son. That's my shit. That's what I'm running with, nigga. You got somebody with my name, nigga? And the Bags start arguing. So Jay-Z said some shit to Bags like, nigga, I don't give a fuck. Whatever, nigga. Whatever. Bags like, whatever? Oh, nigga, so all right, you know what it is when I see you then, right? So then Jay-Z said, yeah, you know what it is. And Bags like, oh, word? All right, cool. Bang, hang up, right? Bang. Burn, son. I'm gonna fire this nigga, son. This nigga playing games with me, son. I'm clapping this nigga. Ah!
That's the reputation. A man who would get the biggest rapper alive on the phone to defend his own name. But here's the part of Eric Smith's story almost nobody tells, and it changes how you hear everything that comes after. In May of 2000, a kid from South Jamaica named Curtis Jackson was shot 9 times outside his grandmother's house and somehow lived. You know him as 50 Cent.
So 50 would have been parked about right here.
Road shit.
This is Trinetta Love with City Rhythms, and I am here with 50 Cent. What's going on?
Without everything good.
Everything's good?
Everything's good.
Well, what's going on with you? What's happening? What do you have out right now?
I got a new single out called How to Rob.
What you probably don't know is who came to see him.
But 50, you know, when he got shot, he didn't want nobody to really see him like that.
Uh-huh.
I know he didn't want none of his own people to see him. You know, E Money, it sounds believable because E Money was 50 right-hand man. And
oh, so they were super close like that?
Yeah, E Money and 50.
Okay.
Yeah, E Money Bags used to be in the studio, all that.
Right, because there was a story, an alleged story over E Money Bags and 50 Cent sticking up a dice game. That's floating out there.
You never know. You never know. I don't want to say too much.
Right.
I don't want to say too much. I don't need. Let's stop talking about 50. I don't need him mad at me and flipping on me next.
Sit with that. According to Prodigy's own memoir, he and E Money Bags went to that hospital together, and Tony, 50's day one, just told you why it's believable. E Money Bags wasn't a bystander to the 50 Cent story. He was inside it, which makes what happens over the next 14 months one of the coldest collision courses ever documented in a federal courtroom. Because the man E Money Bags was about to go to war with is the same man the government believed had a problem with 50 Cent. To understand him, we have to go back to Baisley Park, South Jamaica, Queens, the early 1980s. A teenager named Kenneth McGriff, they called him Supreme, organizes a crew out of the Baisley Park houses. They call themselves the Supreme Team. By 1987, at their peak, federal prosecutors say the operation is clearing more than $200,000 a day. When the hammer falls, McGriff pleads guilty to running a continuing criminal enterprise, takes 12 years, and serves about 7 before walking out on parole in the mid-1990s.
Reporting out of New York City suggests a dangerous drug is making a comeback. Crack sparked a crime wave in America's largest cities in the 80s and 90s and decimated communities across the country, with many black and brown communities hit the hardest.
This reporting is especially alarming given the crack crisis in the 1980s and 90s. It came along with a giant surge in violent crime. That drove unequal treatment of drug users based largely on race, according to the Justice Department, with an explosion in the black and Latino incarceration rates.
The Peace Gods. What has become known as the Supreme Team was a crew organized in the early 1980s in the vicinity of the Baisley Park houses, a public housing project in Jamaica, Queens, New York, by a group of teenagers who were members of a quasi-religious sect known as the 5 Percenters. The Peace Gods, as they were known for greeting each other with the words "Peace God," evolved into the Supreme Team, becoming a monster crew that dwarfed other drug networks of the era, but they took their cue from the streets. The flashy hustlers of the day set the standard and became role models for the neighborhood, flaunting their alluring lifestyle, which was well beyond the reach of working-class queens. You see it all in hip-hop, but back then, that was the streets.
And here's where this story stops being a drug story, because the Supreme who came home did not go back to a corner. He went to an office. Hip-hop had turned his neighborhood's legends into lyrics, and Supreme wanted in on the legitimate side. He attached himself to a rising Queens producer named Irv Gotti and to Gotti's label. The label was called Murder Inc. Supreme produced a straight-to-video film, Crime Partners, based on a Donald Goines novel. Ja Rule, Snoop, and Ice-T are in it, and the screenwriter credit on that film reads Kenneth McGriff.
Supreme always got love.
Right.
I've never seen a person where I've never seen him not get like maximum love and respect.
And even if you don't know who Preem is,
he's just a good nigga.
He's a good nigga.
He's a good dude. So
yeah.
boom, it's so boom. He sees Preem. He's like, "Oh shit, what up, homie?" Preem's like, "What's up?" All cool shit. He comes in. He's smoking a cigar. First verse, he said, "Oh, y'all niggas ain't on no Hollywood shit, are you?" Right. And he was like, "Nah." You know what I'm saying? And we Enterprise, nah. And he was like,
"Oh, Enterprise. I loved Enterprise."
Yeah, loved Enterprise. We used to book Enterprise out. But boom, he says, "Yo, check this out." We start talking. It's me, him, and Rule. He asked Rule a question. This is a true story. Right. I never lie. So whatever I say, that's what gets me into problems, because I never lied, right? So boom, he asked Rule, so where you see yourself in 5 years, homie?
Have you forgotten that once we were brought here, we were robbed of our name, robbed of our language. We lost our religion, our culture, our God. And many of us, by the way we act, even lost our mind.
Do you agree that anybody can be hit? Kennedy, King, Malcolm X, Caesar. You gotta keep your motherfucking eye on history. Make the motherfuckers feel you.
A drug legend rewriting himself as a talented, legitimate filmmaker, riding shotgun with the hottest label in rap. That was the plan. And then, in early 2000, a song leaked that put the old world and the new world on a collision course. It wasn't a diss record, it was worse. It was a history lesson.
Yo, when you hear talk of the South Side, you hear talk of the team. You niggas spit Prince and respect it, Preem. Boy, you slow motherfuckers, I'ma break it down illa. See, Preem was the businessman and Prince was the killer.
This song, a young Curtis Jackson, recording for a Columbia album that would get shelved, laying out the legends of South Jamaica by name, Supreme and his nephew Prince in the first verse. The streets called it a violation. 50 has always maintained it was homage, a memorial to the figures he grew up watching. Months after the song leaked came the shooting you already know about. Now, be careful here, because this is where the internet runs ahead of the record. An affidavit available online reportedly stated the shooting was retaliation for that song, and that messages on a Murder Inc. registered pager pointed to an ongoing plot against the rapper. Prodigy went further in his book and named Supreme outright. McGriff, for his part, denied ever having a beef with 50 Cent at all. And here is the fact that outranks all of it. No one, not McGriff, not anyone, was ever charged with shooting 50 Cent. Not then, not since. The 50 Cent shooting is a suspicion in a court filing. What happened to E-Money Bags is a conviction. and the road to that conviction starts before the song ever leaked. December 1999, a Supreme Team original, Colbert Johnson, they called him Black Just, dies after a shootout in Queens. It was later stated that Eric Smith was suspected of involvement. Eric Smith was never charged with it, never tried for it, and never got the chance to answer it. But Prodigy heard about that night from Eric himself, and what Eric told him is the closest thing to testimony that exists.
You know what I mean? A couple weeks later, you know what I mean, Bags had beef with Preem, you know what I'm saying? Because Bags was going to buy a car, you know what I'm saying? And Preem was selling it. So he put a down payment on it. And I had did some music with Bags, and I paid him for it because Bags did a beat on the Murder Music soundtrack. So I paid him for it. So Bags like, oh shit, I got this money now. I ain't gonna do the other shit I was about to do. I'm gonna get my money back for that nigga. So he went, yo, I need that back. Preem like, nah, you can't get that back. I was like, what? I need that back. And nah, you can't get that back. Oh, okay. Click. Bags seen the nigga behind the Coliseum one day. Seen him sitting in the car, woke up in his car, pulled out, shot his car. Nothing hit Preem. And shit hit Black Just. Black Just was still alive. He got shot in the thigh. You know what I'm saying? And probably somewhere else, I don't know, but the thigh was the bad one. Mary Immaculate is right around the corner. Preem takes Black Just to the hood and tells somebody else to take him to the hospital. Black Just dies from bleeding to death. So now, you know, niggas is after Bags for that. So now Bags telling me like, yo man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I ain't mean to kill Just, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to kill Preem, you know what I'm saying? It was a mistake. I ain't mean to kill Just, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, he like, the niggas after me. I don't give a fuck though, you know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. What happened? Well, I'm gonna kill that nigga Preem when I see him, you know what I'm saying? So the nigga telling me all that. Then like, you know, maybe a couple weeks later, Bags got murdered. And I was just with him the day before. We were supposed to do something that day. I got up early in the morning, called him, and the police picked up the phone. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, you'll hear about what happened. I'm like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? So after that, you know what I'm saying? That shit was just like, wow, man. He just took my nigga. You know what I mean?
It appears that Prodigy's memory compresses time. First, that account of shots meant for Supreme himself is Prodigy's account, and only Prodigy's. It appears nowhere in the court record. Second, Prodigy says Eric was killed a couple of weeks later. It was 19 months. And that gap is not a detail. That gap is the whole horror of this story. Because according to documents, the conspiracy to murder Eric Smith began around December 11th, 1999, within days of Black Just's death, and it didn't end until July 16th, 2001, 19 months, through the song, through the shooting of 50 Cent, through hospital visits and radio wars and album releases, while Eric Smith recorded, had problems, and raised his kids. A plan was running underneath his life the entire time. The plan outlived the year, then it outlived another one. And in the second week of July 2001, somebody put it on tape. July 13th, 2001. Across from a residential street in southeast Queens, a camera starts rolling. Prosecutors would later charge 2 people with making what investigators reportedly described as a surveillance tape. Dennis Crosby, known as Divine, and his girlfriend, who lived nearby. Both would eventually face the ultimate penalty. For 3 days, the tape watches Eric Smith live, driving the Navigator, parking it, July 13th, July 14th, July 15th, and July 16th. That evening, Eric Smith is at a neighborhood barbecue, sitting in his parked truck, when people allegedly walk up and shoot him 11 times at point-blank range. It was described as 40 shots fired by several men wearing white gloves. It's around 9:45 p.m. The tape's last recorded date is that same day. The camera stopped because the story it was telling was over. And then, a text message, presented as evidence in a courtroom years later, quoted by the prosecutor in his opening statement. After the killing, Kenneth McGriff allegedly messaged a friend 4 words, "You missed the party." Eric Smith left behind 8 children. One of them was born a month after his death, and the killing wasn't finished. In late October 2001, Troy Singleton, a close associate of Smith's, was gunned down in Queens, shot in the head at close range, then shot roughly 7 more times where he lay. The government would prove McGriff had him killed to head off retaliation for Eric's murder. The total price the court record attaches to both murders, $50,000. Which brings us back to Baltimore. Late August 2001, 6 weeks after the murder, that stash house raid turns up the tape sitting with the cash and the drugs. Now let's fix what the internet gets wrong, because you will find videos right now telling you the crew filmed the murder itself. The record says no such thing. The affidavit describes 3 days of surveillance footage, a man driving and parking, dated up to the day of the killing. A detective characterized it as preparation, and in fairness, the defense disputed even that. McGriff's then attorney said the tape was mostly innocent home video, a child, McGriff himself, brief shots of the rapper's vehicle. The courts would spend years sorting out whose story it was, but from the moment agents pressed play, Kenneth McGriff's second act was living on borrowed time, and so was Murder, Inc.
Die enormous and live dormant. This how we on it. Living the American dream with a vengeance. I'm gonna get it. I don't give a f. I'm gonna get it.
January 3rd, 2003. Federal investigators raid Murder, Inc.'s Manhattan offices. The theory, laid out in an agent's affidavit, that McGriff was the label's hidden hand and that drug money moved through its ventures, including $500,000 behind the crime partner's soundtrack.
This is this particular Murder, Inc. This is who they out-contract to. This is what they do. And you start picking them off.
I have bigger problems than just the hip-hop police. My name's Irv Gotti, boss of Murder Inc.
Irv Gotti and his brother Chris were indicted for money laundering. In December 2005, a jury acquitted the Lorenzo brothers of every charge. Everyone. On February 1st, after 5 days of deliberation, the jury convicts Kenneth McGriff of murder for hire conspiracy and drug trafficking. Then comes the question of whether he should die for it. The trial judge himself calls the death penalty phase an absurd use of time and money. Prosecutors press anyway. What that penalty phase put in the record is the true cost of this story. Troy Singleton's 14-year-old son on the witness stand, sobbing, telling the jury about waiting for a father who never came to pick him up, and Eric Smith's mother, Karen Cameron, a woman who said she had been told she was the saddest person on earth, who stood up and asked the jury not to execute the man convicted of ordering her son's murder. On February 9th, the jury splits 9-3 in favor of life. McGriff is sentenced to life without parole. After the verdict, his brother crosses to the victims' families and says, "I just want to say I'm so sorry for your loss." And before the marshals lead him out, Kenneth McGriff waves to 3 rows of his own family and taps his chest, above the heart. And the story didn't stop collecting its price. Irv Gotti beat the case, and found out an acquittal is not an acquittal everywhere. Listen to what he says the industry told him afterward.
But you cannot forget that the FBI, the feds, raided 825 8th Avenue, Universal Music Group. They're not gonna give you that while you're every party you go to with 20 killers.
I'm not gonna lie. Listen, let me tell you something.
To which I said.
Gotti,
to which I said.
To which he said.
To which I said.
I gotta relax.
I'm gonna have to figure out another way then, my nigga. Cause I ain't never gonna leave my niggas. I said here, watch this. Real niggas can relate. Real niggas can relate.
Talk that shit, Gotti.
Real niggas can relate. Watch this. Real niggas can relate. I'm gonna say some shit that real niggas can relate. Don't worry about it.
You gotta keep it up.
I'm gonna say some shit that real niggas can relate.
We on ecstasy right now. In our mind.
Nah, I ain't on ecstasy.
In our mind.
If I was on ecstasy, I'd be like, ooh, this wood.
In our mind.
This fucking wood.
Let's go. Gotti, go.
I'm gonna say some real shit.
Go.
Real niggas only can relate.
Go, nigga.
I told the man who told me this, I said, you trying to fuck with my sleep, nigga. I said, I sleep very good. I sleep so well. I said, nigga, if I was to do any disloyal shit to the niggas who have shown me nothing but love, honor, and respect, I said, my nigga, you gonna have me not being able to sleep. And I need my rest because I go hard. Real niggas could relate. My mother, Nene, who I love and worship, put her above God when I was going through the Fed shit. She said, Irv, just taking you away for 20 years, what about your kids? And it was her Nene and Poppy, and my mother and my father, and she was basically saying, tell the feds whatever the fuck, just get them away from you and off of you. I said, Nene, you trying to fuck with my sleep, Mom? You know what my pop said? Leave him alone. Our son is a man. Real shit.
Irv Gotti passed away in February of 2025, which means that of the three men at the center of this story, the rapper on the tape, the executive in the raid, the legend in the courtroom, two are gone, and the third is serving life in federal prison. But there's a fourth voice now. Supreme has a son, and his son grew up on the other side of this whole saga as a 50 Cent fan.
So how old are you now?
28.
So what age were you when you first started hearing about 50 Cent?
You were born in 95? Yeah. 50 blows up in 2022. Or 2002, sorry. Yeah, 03, that time period.
8 years old. And I was a fan. Like, how can you not be... Like, I'm not a liar. I'm not going to get on nobody's camera or nobody's screen and lie. Like, he was the biggest... I'm from Queens. I'm from New York. He's the biggest thing moving. Like, I was a fan. Like, I had... But remember I told y'all I found out about who my dad was when I was like 11, 12, 13?
So you were a 50 fan for a while before you even figured it out.
That's what I was about to say. Like, yo, I had posters of this guy. Like, I knew every word to every song. Like, my mother used to buy me the G-Unit sneakers. I was wearing the do-rags. Like, that was like, he was the person. I was a fan.
You didn't have the wife beaters with the striped
colored
sleeves.
I had all that.
No.
The G-Unit tank tops. The G-Unit tank top. I had all that.
I had the shoes. I never had the tank top.
Like bro, I'm telling you, like I had his poster, bro. Yeah. And then could you imagine like me going through that shell shock? Like me finding out my dad is like his I'm like, yo. So how did you find out? Like, what's the day like? I was like, all right, I can't fuck with 50 no more because of...
Think about what you just heard. The man 50 Cent directly named in his song has a son who knew every word of Get Rich or Die Trying before he knew the real legendary story of his father. That's how completely this story swallowed everyone it touched.
You slow motherfuckers, I'ma break it down iller. Supreme was the businessman and Prince was the killer. Remember?
I like the Ghetto Qu'ran. If you want to know.
Those are the guys that you would choose not to go against at that point.
So, the question we started with, how does a videotape made to end a man's life become the evidence that ends an empire? Like this, 3 days of silent footage left carelessly in a stash house told federal investigators that Eric Smith's murder wasn't street chaos. It was planned, patient, and paid for. 19 months of patience, $50,000, 11 shots, and a text message that treated a man's death like a party somebody missed. The tape didn't convict Kenneth McGriff by itself. It opened the door the government walked through, and it ended hip-hop's most dangerous open secret, the marriage between the streets that inspired the music and the business that sold it. After the tape, no label ever wore a drug legend on its sleeve the same way again.
Coming up, I heard sipping too much booze will leave you confused. And if you watch the news, you see players in this game that lose. I'm forgetting Lefty and Jazz, Pretty Tony and Lance, Head Luke, Mel's son, Trey and E-Money Bags. In a conversation over shrimp and lobster, and Benny Hines heard Chico stop boxing and started robbing diners. Shout out to Clarence and Clutch, Bob Dre, Black Will, and Flo don't kill you, the Mac will. Forgive me for I've said.
The song named him, the tape watched him, the court avenged him, and the man himself, the one who Prodigy said sat with a shot-up 50 Cent in the hospital, who got Jay-Z on the phone to defend his own name, who left 8 children and 1 album. Eric Smith never got to tell any of it. In the words of the man who knew him best, that was my brother, and somebody took him. If you want to know what happened to the empire Supreme left behind, and the label that survived him, the Murder Inc. story is linked in the comments. Watch that one next.
Rather die enormous than live dormant. That's how we on it.
I'd rather die enormous than live dormant. That's how we on it.
That line, I'd rather die enormous than live dormant. That's how we on it. Living the American dream with a vengeance. I'm gonna get it. I don't give a f. I'm gonna get it.
I've served over 21 years in New York State Department of Correctional Facility for a murder that I did not commit. I spent 10 of those years in solitary confinement. I know the conditions of solitary confinement. I know that when you're there, the noise level is very high, that it's almost impossible to concentrate or to really be able to utilize your mental faculties in a way that a normal person would. To hear that Kenneth McGriff has spent his entire incarceration pre-trial and now post-trial in segregation and not having access to materials from the law library on a sense that someone in the general population would appalls me. The United States Supreme Court in Bound versus Smith identified at a minimum that a prisoner should be entitled to have access to certain materials and have access to his lawyer to be meaningful and assisting in the preparation of his defense and appeal. To learn that Mr. McGriff is being treated this way in America when there's no evidence that he's a threat to the penal system or to the safety or to the correctional goals, again, appalls me. I'm calling on the President, Congress, and anybody else who have the powers to investigate this to release Mr. McGriff and allow him to have a second chance in the judicial system where his constitutional rights, at the very least, to have access to all the materials that a defense have to put forth a meaningful defense be permitted.